Hello, race fans. Welcome to another episode of Short Track Guys Podcast, brought to you by ShortTrackExclusives.com. I am your host, Thomas Battis, alongside two other short track guys in the studio. Jim Pokrant, driver of the 07 Can'tQuitFishing.com sportsman here locally at Five Flag Speedway, and 2021 Sportsman Champion in Pensacola, Florida. And Ted Baber Video Productions, also in the Southeast in the short tracks in Pensacola at Five Flag Speedway. What's up, guys?
Gracious good evening to you.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Yeah, we've got a pretty good show tonight. I would think we're going to kind of go over some updates this past weekend, and we've got some big races coming up this weekend as well. We're going to hold off on the sportsman update here for Jim, the 07 Can'tQuitFishing.com sportsman. I believe he was in another car this past weekend in a pure stock. So, Jim, tell us about that and what was that all about?
My good friend Ben Cranford, who is my teammate now, he hurt his shoulder. He's got a tear or something, and he just couldn't drive, and he took a muscle relaxer and said, I'm not getting in the car, so he asked me to bring my gear. So I jumped in the 343 this weekend and finished fourth. I qualified fifth, started outside pole, stayed second for about maybe half a lap, and fell back to fifth, and wound up finishing fourth. Not too bad. I mean, the car's got a lot of work to be done to it. I've only driven it twice and once in practice, and we found a bind, and now we got another problem. So, I mean, we were running equal times, so I'm not really complaining. I think that car would win with a little bit of work on the front end, and Ben has ordered the parts, and we're going to get busy on that. And then my car, I'm going to change the clutch and do a few little odds and ends, and we'll be ready for the 13th.
Keep on easing up there on it.
Yeah. I may try to drive both cars on the 13th. I don't know if Tim will let us or not, but, you know, we had discussed it, and I may end up driving both cars.
Right, and the May 13th, that's the Alan Turner Pro Late Model race number 1 for the season, and that night, speaking of pretty good racing, which is going to come up on that night on the 13th, we had not really the ground pounders, but we had the modifieds of Mayhem on Friday night with the Outlaws, and wow, one of our heroes, you know, one of the guys we've talked about a lot, comes away with the win.
Doggy.
Oh, dude, he dogged, Jeff Letson is a legend in these modifieds, and he dogged him for about 10 or 15 laps. He couldn't quite get him, and then finally Letson made a mistake, and he went by, and then it was like lights out. Yeah. I mean, Augie just disappeared. Nobody was going to catch him. No cautions. They ran the whole race with caution free, so... congratulations to Augie Grill, man. He just put a whoop on him.
Yeah, and we've talked about that in previous episodes. When Augie gets behind the wheel of that modified, man, he just, you better watch out. And it doesn't really matter where he starts. He could probably start scratch and then, you know, make up the field. And, I mean, he took on, you know, Caden Honeycutt, Derek Griffin, Tim Moore, and Jeff Letson finished top 5. But, I mean, him starting 7th, and we weren't really sure if it was a dice roll or not, but, you know, come away with the win and, you know, put on a dominant performance, if you want to put it that way. Kudos and congratulations to that Augie Grill stable.
I think on the modifieds of Mayhem, it's a redraw.
It is a redraw. Yeah, it's a redraw. Yeah, they have everybody go up there and redraw, which is pretty cool. Yeah. But I tell you what, man, you just can't stop Augie when he's on.
And he's always on.
He's always on, but he's lost some of these races. But I'm telling you, he's if he's right, shame on you.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
I was going to say the Outlaw stock race was a really good one. It came down to a second with 2 laps to go with a pass.
A bit of a heartbreaker.
Yeah, man, that poor kid, man. I did in the 54. Yeah. It breaks my heart because he had that race won, and he tried a defensive line to hold off Logan Boyette, and when he did, he scrubbed off speed, and Logan drove by him on the outside. I just hated that. That was heartbreaking. That kid he's so fast, and he led almost the entire race. So we'll see next time. I think he won't do that. I believe Connor Sutton won't do that again. I believe he'll get him. And, you know, congratulations on the second place finish. That's one of the best ones he's had. And he's always good in his class. Sometimes you don't qualify good, but you look up and he's in the top 5.
He's in there.
You know, with a caution, he might have a shot then. But I'm telling you, dude, that kid, it's him and his grandpa.
Yeah, that's it. That's all they've got for a crew is just them.
Yeah, and a couple of friends. But, dude, he does so well. And I'm proud of Connor Sutton, and I'm hoping he'll win one before this year's over with.
Yeah, what can you explain a little bit about the with that Pro Late model coming up with Alan Turner number 1 on the 13th and the difference between the Outlaws and that Pro Late model? Is there any similarities for them?
Well, the chassis are the same. They're full-blown late models. Now, the Wheelman series, you have to run big springs, but on the Outlaws, you can run coilovers. So just it's a late model with an Outlaw body on an 8-inch tire. So it slows them down a little bit, but they're not that much slower than the pro late models. They're really not, because they have so much downforce.
Right.
If you took one of those Outlaw late models, because they run them up north as a regular super lates, and put a 10-inch tire on that car and put the kind of super late horsepower in it, it would bust the track record wide, because you could just about flat-foot it with the kind of downforce those cars have. It's the bodies make a big difference, and that's something that, I think it's cool. I'm hoping to get to drive one. I want to feel what that feels like, to drive off in the corner and feel that front of that thing just suck down to the racetrack.
Right. And for our listeners out there that have seen and heard us talk about the Outlaw series with the Wheelman, which is the same pretty much body style.
Yes.
You can look at a dirt late model and almost put the two and two together to know what you're looking at when you see an Outlaw on pavement.
Pretty much. The dirt late models the bodies are skewed, so when it rolls over, it seals off. So of course, the asphalt cars, it's going to be squared off, so when it goes in the corner, it seals down. Ben Cranford and I bought some of those Outlaw noses that they run. They're real swoop down, got the little splitter on them. Oh, them things are neat.
There's different, there's various kind of wing formations and things like that you get on the outside edges, but basically it's all the same.
Yeah, everybody's kind of figured out what works. We're going to run a full doghouse instead of a narrow doghouse, I believe, on one of the cars. So it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to getting behind the wheel of one of them and see what it feels like.
Yeah, well, that's another one of those terms for our listeners that are short track fans and still, picking up on some of the terminology, or some sophisticated people will say jargon. So that doghouse is what you're talking about. Explain that.
It's the roof. A lot of that guys run a narrow roof, because a late model is a straight rail car. In other words, the frame doesn't come all the way out. The right side frame rail is completely straight from the back suspension to the rear suspension. So the roof is narrow and the roll cage is narrow. So what you do is you narrow the roof down to fit the roll cage, and the roof is called the doghouse. Now you have a wide doghouse on the other cars and a narrow one on the Outlaw cars. Some guys choose to run a wide one on the Outlaw. It all depends on your preference and what you're comfortable driving.
Well, there you have it. A little bit of a unsegmented "Did you know" segment that we just put in there.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's always helpful to race fans, that are listening. And for those of you just picking up on our episode tonight, it's episode 48. Welcome to the show, and we appreciate your support and listening. And you're going to learn a little bit more about that jargon and that terminology that we talk about, different classes. And we're going to move from that Modifieds of Mayhem with Augie Grill taking the win with Caden Honeycutt. We've talked about him a ton. Garrett, Derek Griffin, Tim Moore, and Jeff Letson. They're all hot shoes in Modifieds. Not quite the ground pounders, but they put on a really, really good show. It's an open wheel race, so
you just never know what's going to have those open wheels. I always worry about them touching. All they do is touch just a little bit. And Katie bar the door. You're going to be over.
Yeah, something's going to happen.
Well, that's what first happened when they came out with them. They were wrecking left and right because guys were used to driving with fenders and bars that stick out past the tires, and you don't have that in the front end. And you drive in there, and bam! Next thing you know, you're flipping over each other and tearing each other's stuff all to pieces.
Yeah, well, congratulations, Augie Grill, Logan Boyette, and all the winners there at Five Flags. We went to Saturday night 24 hours later, and went to Montgomery Motor Speedway, and Ted's got some action that happened with the Show Me the Money series.
Now, it was the Jake Garcia show. That's all I can say. Is that he just went out there and put on a heck of a show. He almost, if it hadn't been for a late, like 17 laps to go caution, he would have been in position to have tried to lap the 5th place car. But as it turns out, he won the race going away. That last caution, he was out front by a little over a second before the end of the race. But the entire rundown, obviously, Jake winning it. Giovanni Ruggiero comes in second. Casey Roderick, we've talked about him a bunch, was third. Brittany Zamora comes into the top 5 finish in 4th place. Christopher Tullis was the last of the top 5. Justin South, Hunter Wright. Hunter Wright was the last car on the lead lap. He got the lucky dog with that 17 to go caution. And then everybody else was at least one lap down, including John Bolin, Jim Wall, Jeff Dawkins, Brian Schaefer, Chase Spradlin, Johnny Brazier, who we talked about before, came so close to winning the Snowball Derby one year.
No, he did win it, but he got tossed.
Yep.
And then Jake Daniels, Jolyn Wilkinson came in top 15. Hudson Halder, Brandon Bishop. Justin Bonnet had a very uncharacteristic 18th place finish. I'm not sure what happened to him, but unfortunate for him. And then Jace McLemore and Gage Rogers rounded up at top 20 in the final finisher.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know that, Justin Bonnet is the grandson of
The great Neil Bonnet.
the great Neil Bonnet. Tragically lost his life in a practice session at Daytona in the Country Time Chevrolet. But but Justin Bonnet has recovered nicely. Not only physically, but in the race car too, and it's heartbreaking to kind of hear that. But it's mechanical and probably something out of their control. He'll rebound from that, and we'll be talking a lot about Justin Bonnet here in no time.
Yeah, but how about that Jake Garcia?
Oh, God.
He's a Chase Elliott protege, and I'm going to tell you something. That kid has got a ton of talent.
He's got places to go. He's going to get there.
Oh, yeah.
One of the few that we can say youth and talent at the same time, because he's not that old.
No, he's young, but he's still got he's a hell of a race car driver. Glad to see him get that win. That's cool. Montgomery's a cool place. I've had a podium finish there once, and that's something Ben told me the other day. He wants us to go to Montgomery, but we got to find a carburetor. Right. Run a different carburetor.
He's also got some truck starts coming up here in the near future too.
Yeah, he does.
Speaking of youth and experience, we're going to stay on the youth side of it, and I think Ted's got another special event that happened a little west of us, right?
Just slightly west of us. It was a race up in. I'm trying to pronounce the name of this track. It's kind of a difficult place to not only get around but pronounce as well. But, I'll give you a rundown of the final. At least we'll go with the top 5 anyway, because sadly out in Washington we are not really familiar with too many of the drivers. But this particular 14-year-old driver, so you might want to get used to this name. It's Evan Gates. He actually won this race. Taylor Riddle was second. Max Schrader was third place. Mike Langton fourth, and Caden Anderson top 5. And
I believe it's pronounced Wienahatchee.
Okay,
Wienahatchee. Because the Gens family that I'm currently living in their shop, they're from there, so I believe it's Wienahatchee.
Wienahatchee Valley, super oval, but it's actually just a quarter mile. But a 14-year-old. Yeah, kind of puts him on him.
He had the best of luck.
Yeah,
and probably the best equipment.
More than likely.
I've read just a little bit about him. He apparently has had a lot of success at that facility. So it wouldn't surprise me just reading that and knowing that he comes away with the win at 14. I mean, we've seen guys come through Pensacola that are 13, 14. Grant Thompson's another one that comes to mind that was 13. Ryan Blaney came up here in a snowflake
12.
event. Yeah, and he looked every bit of 8.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was like, what the hell's he doing in a race car?
Exactly. So, I mean, youth experience, we can kind of throw that experience thing out the window. When you've got good equipment, you've got the knowledge as, some young kids, they have it together.
Yeah, but at 8 and 9 years old, a lot of them have been racing 4 or 5 years because they started at 5 in a mini sprint or whatever,
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That was the Leonard Evans 150. I want to get that in before we go too much further.
Yeah, Evans is Garrett Evans. That's I think that's his dad. Leonard Evans is Garrett Evans' dad. Yeah. Garrett Evans is a famous late model racer from over there. He's been to the Derby a few times here, number 64. Yeah, I know who he is. He's pretty tough.
Leonard Evans Memorial 150 at Wenatchee Valley Super
Oval.
Quarter mile oval, and a 14-year-old Mr. Gates gets it done and says,
"Congratulations!
I'm taking the check, giving it to Dad,
or Granddad, or whoever wrote the checks to get me on the racetrack."
A $3,000 check too.
But I think he's going to keep the trophy.
Probably,
I'm pretty sure. And let's see, we can move to the 74th annual Joe Shear Classic, and I'm telling you, it doesn't seem like it's been 3 months that we've talked about the Joe Shear Classic at Madison Speedway in Madison, Wisconsin, with a number 36 throwback and a tribute to Joe Shear himself, Mr. Rich Bickle taking the win And here we are a year later talking about the race this past weekend with the Joe Shear Classic, the 74th annual.
Wow.
And Casey Johnson, this is the ARCA Midwest Tour with Casey Johnson, Dalton Zier, Derek Kraus, John DeAngelis, which we've spoke a lot about,
Yes.
And Riley Stenjum. And Casey Johnson's actually a 2-time ARCA Midwest champion that comes away with that victory. And I'm telling you, they put on a show.
And that was Madison, Wisconsin also. That's up there I won't call it the hinterlands, but man, that's a tough place to get around.
Yep, great old racetrack. Good people, and congratulations. Good deal.
Yeah, now we can move to the North-South Challenge coming up this Saturday night at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Boy, oh boy, I'm telling you, there's a lineup that's going to be up there.
Wow.
Yeah, there's 30 cars, 31 plus cars that are going to go up there, and it's the North, the CRA Super Series and the Southern Super Series colliding from the North and the South, and they're going to be at Nashville, and winner's going to take a little bit of money home.
Just a nickel or two.
Just a few bucks. Well, our boy Bubba Pollard's there. Jake Garcia's entered. It's going to be a pretty interesting race. I'm telling you, that is a historic place I would love to race around. I'd love to make some laps there just because, my hero was track champion there, of course. And won his first cup race there, by the way. So that ought to be interesting. The SRX is going to be there. Nashville's just a cool place, man. I'd love to go up and race and then park the hauler and do all the sights.
Yeah, there's some names on that list that we haven't really talked about. Logan Bearden, Jackson Boone we have, Kyle Bryant from Navarre. His family owns and operates Five Flag Speedway here, and good luck to Kyle making that trek to Nashville. William Byron, I think you might know a little bit about him in the 24 car with Hendrick Motorsports. It's won twice this year already on Sunday. Cody Coughlin, Matt Craig, Dylan Petco, Jake Finch, Albert Francis, Jake Garcia, and bam, 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 bam. I mean, I could go on, but it'd be another hour to go through all these. Casey Roderick, Chandler Smith,
Justin,
Jet Nolan. I mean, Stephen Nassy, all the big guys.
No slouches in that list whatsoever. No. They're all champions in that list, and they're going to put on a hell of a show, that's for sure.
Right. And they're going to gun for that north-south win, and that bragging right's taking it either way, above the border or below the border, however you want to put it.
Well, they used to call it the All-American 400, and they would put rebel flags on the southern cars and American flags on the northern cars, because Dick Trickle and all them guys used to come down. That was back in the 80s.
When you could do that.
When you could do that and not somebody go, oh, it's a Confederate flag, stop it. But it was pretty cool. Then they went to just putting an N or an S on the cars. When I went up there years ago to watch it, it was an N or an S for your north or south. So you could root for your favorite driver. But they don't even do that now. So, it is what it is.
Well, we got two announcements with those races coming up this weekend and the past results from last weekend. Just want to throw out one of our drivers that we talk about a lot that comes over maybe once or twice a year.
Once or twice.
He's well known in our area at Five Flag Speedway with the Snowflake 100 and the Snowball Derby, and it is Mr. Derek Thorne from California. Just want to help out and say that there is an extension partnership with firedog.org, and just want to tell everybody that Firedog is a company based in Northern California, specializing in the implementation and management of emergency response support services. So congratulations. And I know with Pepper Jack's Family Funeral and Cremation, that's just locally here in Pensacola, they're developing a really good team. And, anytime somebody gets somebody like Major that hooks up and helps them along the way with the talent that he's got, and Derek Thorne, and we're going to see him. I'm actually surprised he's not in Nashville, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, I mean, he runs the West Coast stuff, and I mean, he comes over here. I think he came over for that Pepper Jack race at Five Flags for two reasons: one, to get even with Chandler Smith, and one, to win one. So he accomplished both of those feats that night he was there. So, congratulations to him on the new sponsor. That's pretty dang cool.
And the fact that they are supporting first responders is also pretty cool.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, you gotta support those guys, man. Without them, we don't have nothing.
Right, and my hat's off to all of them too, because it gives us something bigger to talk about every week.
Yep, for sure.
Well, not to top off Derek Thorne and his extended partnership, but we have some news coming out an SRX driver here in June at Five Flag Speedway, Mr. Ryan Newman.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, has
I think
officially
so.
entered the 74th annual Lucas Oil Little 500,
Oh, Lord.
presented by UAW. He's from South Bend, if you don't know, which is in Indiana.
Yeah.
This is his first Little 500. He's won 18 series races in NASCAR, and he is going to put himself in the first sprint car race he's had in what they say decades, but it's probably 20, 30 years. 500 laps non-wing sprint car race held on Saturday in Memorial Day weekend on May 28th. There'll be 33 sprint cars starting in 11 rows, 3 wide, and that's a big race. I mean, it's the Little 500, but it's little like midgets, and they get around that racetrack, and I believe it's indoors.
Yeah.
I want to think it is. But Ryan Newman will be. He said he's been there and he's experienced, but he knows what it takes to get around there. But it's pretty cool, quarter-mile, high-bank track. It's just the baby Bristol.
I just couldn't imagine 500 laps in a non-wing sprint car.
Yeah,
Good
in a toilet
Lord.
bowl.
Yes, basically.
Because basically that's what people say at Bristol. You put 42 Matchbox cars in the toilet and flush it. That's what it's like.
And
Yeah.
see what happens.
But that's a neat race. I've seen videos of the older one when like Rapid Rich Vogler and guys like that used to run it. And that's insane, dude. Run that, I mean, 500
Yes.
laps. And you got to pit, and you got to do this, and you got to do that, and you got to stay out of trouble, and you can't tear stuff up. I mean, I've watched videos of that race. It's very fun to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one, and it is a big one as far as the sprint cars go. The non-wing sprint cars, I'm going to really call them midgets because I don't think it's on dirt. I don't know if there's a difference between a non-wing sprint and a midget if it's asphalt.
No, there
pavement.
is a difference. The midgets are smaller. The non-wing sprints are just a full-size sprint car with no wings,
Okay,
which
I
means
got you.
they're same horsepower, but with no downforce. So, yeah, you can flip one of them on dirt in a second because it goes bouncing around there. So, yeah, they're pretty crazy.
We have the SRX fan boat leaderboard that has now
For
changed.
Nashville, yeah.
For Nashville, yeah. It's Cole Williams now taking over the lead with Brittany Zamora, Bubba Pollard, Stephen Nassy, Michael House, and Dylan Petco in the top 6 for that fan boat for the SRX race in Nashville. So just giving you a little update. I think we went over it last week or the week before as well with Brittany being in the lead. But somebody's caught the wind and said, this Cole Williams deserves it. So we'll see what happens. We've got a couple of days left to tally that up, and we'll get into that next Wednesday to see who's going to be in Nashville. So that's always exciting because we're going to have the first race this year at Five Flag Speedway in Pensacola.
That's going to be fun,
oh,
yeah.
yes.
Vote Bubba, by the way.
Yes.
I'd love to see him in 2 of them, but he knows his way around Pensacola. I think Bubba Pollard's going to be a threat to win that one. And now, how cool would that be to see Bubba Pollard whoop Bill Elliott and Michael Waltrip and Ryan Newman and all these other guys? So that's going to be cool.
Yeah, Ryan Hunter-Ray, Marco Andretti. It's
Andretti. You know how cool that is?
yes.
Yeah.
One of the biggest racing families in this
Yes.
world, the Andretti's.
Right.
I mean, come on, dude. That's awesome.
Very.
And another one, Ken Schrader, has joined the SRX series at I-55 Raceway coming up later this season. So, it's always fun and interesting to see Schrader and Kenny Wallace and those guys get together because they're so funny and they're old school guys. They went to the shop and they cut themselves. They bleed. They get, they eat hamburgers with grease all over, oil all over their hands. They don't sit and watch and say, okay, is the car ready, Daddy?
They're
that
true
kind of thing.
short track guys is what
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Kenny's retiring after this year. He's just he's not gonna run all over the place. I saw a deal where he said he's gonna get rid of his stacker. He's going to have a pickup truck and an open trailer, and whenever he can run down the road at the local dirt track, he's going to run. Whenever he don't want to, he's not going to. Ken Schrader's going to race till he gets too old to get in the car, and then he's going to have some younger friends pick him up and put him in the car.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I love Ken Schrader. He's the epitome to me of a racer.
Oh, yeah. And he's like 70, 75 races a year.
Jeez.
And he does these charity events. He does the late models, and he's running all over. I think Kenny Wallace not quite as many races, but Schrader's got a schedule that's like 75 or 70 races. It's crazy.
Yep, for a guy his age, he's still out running the road. That's pretty awesome. Got to meet him at Southern Raceway, and he's just a nice guy.
Yeah, I agree with you, and we look forward to all those results. And that race in June with the SRX Series on CBS here at Five Flag Speedway in Pensacola, Florida. Make your plans, get your vacation days, and get the tickets, and we'll see you out there. And guys, is there anything else you guys want to put up before we sign off?
Well, I lost a couple of one crew member and one fan this last week. Christian Garner, he was my crew chief's daughter's boyfriend, got killed in an unfortunate accident in downtown Pensacola. We're going to miss him. He was a big help. He jumped right in when we asked him for help and to do things. And I want thoughts and prayers for their family because it's a bad situation. And Miss Judy Mears, who was one of my biggest fans, Jim Paluchka, and her would come to the races every week, and she always would run up and give me a hug, and she called me Pokey, and she was just a real sweet lady, and she was always a big fan of mine, and she loved Kyle Plott. And she passed away this past week. So, I mean, my condolences to her family, and thoughts and prayers to you guys, because, I mean, it's just been a bad week for losses. I really hate that, and I hate to lose Miss Judy because she, like I said, she was an awesome fan of mine. And to Christian Garner's family, you know, we're praying for you, and I hope things get better.
Yeah, amen to that.
Anyway, I think we're going to get ready for the 13th, and I think we'll have some fun. And then, of course, we're looking forward to that SRX race. Dude, I cannot wait. I'm looking forward to that big time.
Oh, is it the intensity just keeps building every time you look at an article about it? I mean, it's really, really going to impact our economy here.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in Pensacola, and, you know, that's just... It's big to me.
Well, I think the world of Tony Stewart, and I hate that he lost that truck race at Eldora because he started the SRX and NASCAR pulled the plug on his Eldora and they went to Knoxville and everybody hated it. So good for them. But Tony Stewart, smart man, way to go do things, man. I hope this expands and grows for you, and I hope you continue to build on the brand because we need you. We need short track racing, and that's what you're all about, and we appreciate it.
And need more of that smoke.
Yeah, amen to that.
Exactly.
Brother. And you know what's cool about Tony Stewart is he'll go to Southern Raceway and run his sprint car, but he won't let them use him as a promoter and part of it. He'll tell them, don't even talk about me being there till I get there. And he'll sign every autograph. He will stand there till everybody gets an autograph. So you got to.
That's one I want to get too, because that's one I do not have.
I've got him in my autograph book, so that's pretty cool. I carried a skunk up to him one day, and he what? That was pretty funny. But yeah, congratulations for them doing that. We need more short track racing. NASCAR has gotten to where it's out of price, out of range. Nobody cares. Move on. Quit being woke.
I would much rather be at a short track watching a whole bunch of paint
street
swapping
stocks.
and fender slamming and all that stuff. It's just a lot more exciting than just.
That's why we do this, because we're short track fans.
That's right.
Yep, and we are just three short track guys in the studio.
That's
Amen.
Right.
Talking about short track racing like we always do every week. And Jim, Ted, man, it's just such a pleasure to get together with you every week and reminisce about the week past and week in the future about short track racing, and we'll look forward to doing it next Wednesday. And everybody that's listening and like, share, and subscribe kind of thing, we do appreciate your support. It is our motivation, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
This would not be a complete show without a
Let's go, Brandon.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for listening again.